Space is really big, so I've been told. The noble voyages of the Voyagers inspire this planetarium track, serving as a heroic fanfare for the fastest, farthest harbingers of human ingenuity and curiosity, the expedition into the mysteries of the deep future. As we examine the universe, it is surprising how much we can learn about ourselves. Although I consider these studies to be space music, the melodic and thematic approach I'm using is about as far away from ambient space music as possible. I just read about a feature available on some Apple devices that generate ambient drones automatically. While AI is coming for composers and arrangers, no AI tools were used to create or perform the outer space anthem you are about to hear. This track is a tribute to 80s major label new age albums, the Naradas, Windham Hills, and Hearts of Spaces, that began as, or were eventually swallowed by conglomerates like BMG, Polygram, and Universal. For a brief shining moment, aficionados could find terrific modern classics, or lazy guitar and sax improvisations with some kind of string machine whining in the background. Record companies were checking boxes and reaping those sweet physical media profits. Few performers got rich, but many made a decent living, and the result was a cultural goldmine of non-mainstream music, a corpus that has yet to be fully studied, surveyed, and appreciated as its own repertoire. Keeping with the salute to the 80s motif, this recording includes plenty of DX7, Fairlight CMI, and Synclavier 2, often replicated with the Ensoniq ESQ and SQ80. Also, prepare for gated drums, because that tidal wave of sound is due for a comeback. Gated snares have been described as a huge wave suddenly smashing into a brick wall. Just ask Phil Collins. The B theme, which I call the Quest theme, sent me on my own long-distance voyage. I wanted to write a rootless, lonely melody trekking unexplored paths. Even if the Quest theme arrives at an acceptable resolution, it may not be an ending a listener could predict. From a timbral perspective, the Quest theme leans on my longtime fascination with creating analog cello replicas by additive synthesis. You'll have to decide how successful I was. The Moody Blues has to be one of my top 5 rock acts. They effortlessly bridged the 1960s and the 1980s, which is no mean task. I have appropriated the name of their 1981 album. Their title track has nothing to do with the New Age planetarium pastiche you are about to hear, other than it is thematically a kind of road song, and my extrapolation of the Voyager missions represent a very long road indeed. I think you'll find that, like many metaphoric roads, it often leads back to your own front door. The human mind is a connection machine. In 1964, a summer intern at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory discovered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A rare planetary alignment would occur in the late 1970s, allowing a hypothetical spacecraft to visit all the giant outer planets of our solar system using gravity assist, the famous slingshot effect. Gary Flandro's idea became known as the Grand Tour. I want you to pay attention to the confluence of events that made this possible. For the first time in human history, it was possible to launch deep space missions. By an astronomically slim coincidence, Gary Flandro noticed that a spacecraft launched in 1977 could use the gravitational pull of each planet to slingshot it toward the next, allowing it to visit all 4 outer planets. This unique alignment would not occur again for another 175 years. The Voyager missions gave us our first up-close visions of deep space, and their missions continue in interstellar space as I'm recording this. But even after their RTG power sources run cold and they stop transmitting scientific observations, the Voyager probes will still continue through the universe as our ambassadors for billions and perhaps trillions of years. What they will encounter in the far future is a matter for speculation. Voyager represents humanity's longest journey. What they have taught us extends far beyond science. They reveal the detailed wonders of our solar system, connect us with the universe beyond and are symbols of opportunity and insight. They are not only monuments to deep space, they are testaments to deep thought. The experience that cemented my fascination with planetariums was attending an adaptation of Isaac Asimov's The Last Question. I went in expecting a didactic tour of ephemeris, but was treated to a mind-altering hard science fiction extravaganza of literally cosmic scope. That's when I began to understand that a planetarium was a far more versatile space than its traditional uses of skywatching and Pink Floyd. A planetarium could be a unique venue for a type of storytelling that would be difficult to present with mainstream conventional media. In that capacity, I've crafted a little Voyager voyage projected into the far future, leaning a little bit onto an existing property, with just a soupçon of vintage NASA footage. Planetariums may be a niche interest, but as Joel Hodgson pointed out about Mystery Science Theater, they self-select to prioritize finding the right audience over a mass audience. And keep in mind that even an entertainment juggernaut like video games were once considered a niche interest. Here's hoping you find my little musical digression to the edge of the cosmos of interest. Sit back and fire up the projector as we listen to strange synthesizer colors shooting spirits of sound through time and space.